Hello everyone, hope everyone can hear me okay, everything's coming through just fine. I'll put the music back on for you guys so you can hear a little bit of other stuff apart from my sultry tones. Anyway, hello and welcome to tonight's live stream, welcome to Saturday's live stream, which is question time. If you are new to the live streams or new to the channel, welcome. This is an opportunity for you guys to ask your questions about gaming development or Unreal Engine 4, whatever you really want to. Really, it's kind of an open room for you guys to ask whatever the hell you like. So if you have any questions you want to ask tonight, leave them into chat. And I've got chat up on the screen here, so I'll be reading them out and answering as many as I can. If I do miss your question, I apologise. Just post up again, and hopefully I'll try and catch it a second time round. For those who are asking already, the archive for this stream will be available to patrons immediately afterwards, and will be available to everyone else in a couple of weeks' time. So, on with the first few questions. So, whilst we were setting up, I saw one question coming from Cade Quixel, I think it was. Curd Quixel, sorry. Asking how to make the level dark like a horror game. How to move all light sources but still not too dark. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can go about doing this. So one thing you want to avoid doing is how are you going to handle auto exposure. So auto exposure is when your eyeballs automatically adjust to the light levels inside the room. If you ever walked into a room and it was dark and you wanted it to brighten up, and it brightens up as soon as you step in, that's auto exposure. So by default, Unreal does this automatically for you. You can turn it off if you want to, but first let's set up a dark room. So I'm in the basic level for the first person template. We're going to just rotate the sun around upside down, and then I'm going to go over to my sky sphere and refresh the material. So now I've got a nighttime scene. I will need to rebake the lighting because at the moment the lighting is still baked to the daytime. So I'm going to go quickly up to build options and build lighting only. I'm just going to wait for that to do its thing. Whilst looking up, let's have a look and see what's going on. Hello everyone. Hello Chris, Boys Games, Taylor Moore, Scarty, Kim North, Abadoudi. I've seen your names come up as well. Hello, welcome to everyone joining us. Yes, I did get Mega Grant. Thank you everyone for showing your support, and thank you to Epic for accepting me. It was already paid off, and I've already started to get some equipment in, like this new camera. I've got a Canon M50 doing the camera system. I'm no longer using a hodgepodge system with my phone and some crappy setups. I've actually got a professional rig now. I've got some more stuff coming as well. I've got a better light source to do better lighting. I also got some new software because I'm going to practice and do a bit more stuff in ZBrush and Substance, and to help me with that I've got a Cintiq coming to help me do that. Hopefully do some tutorials on more of the art side of things as well as Unreal. Try and do the whole package of game development on this channel. But that's all incoming, so you'll slowly see the quality of stuff improve. So we're in a dark room now. If I push play, you obviously got no light source in there at all apart from the directional light, which is lighting up from the above, from pointing up. Okay, and obviously it's a bit too dark. Okay, so auto exposure, might have turned it off already on this, because that should have been doing something. Auto exposure is on, so if you want to turn it off you can do, and now stops the light doing its thing. Another way of doing it though, so let's maybe put in let's do some basic lights. So we're putting a point light, and we're going to turn its intensity down to 4, and we'll make it very big. And we're going to go down to indirect lighting, knock it up to 3, and let's go up to static and baked lighting again. And not only lighting, you have to bake things, it takes a while. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. Everyone's safe, everyone's COVID free, hopefully. we're all good in my house. Wife and kids are doing fine. Let's have a look, see what else we got here. I've got loads of stuff coming on here. So whilst waiting for this to do its thing, Shania Lopez. Hello everyone, how are you guys? How can you deal with multiple weapons and their own animation damage rate? Okay, so if you've watched my FPS series, I set up a gun as a separate actor. And on that actor I have a variety of variables, and those variables relate to things like damage rate and so forth. Now when it comes to animation, there comes the trick. There's a couple of ways of doing this. Now you could hand animate it every single gun and put them together with their own animation blueprints and do their own custom stuff. It's a lot of work, and the latest Call of Duty actually did this job. Okay, so if you want to mimic their sort of intense way of doing it, they did this sort of hand animated, everything animated, custom to itself. So that's one way of doing it, the hard way, but you get the best results. The other way is using an IK based system. So this is coming up in my FPS RPG series, but you have the gun and you animate the bones and do animations. And then you rig your arms with IKs, inverse kinematics. More on that in the future. But basically what it'll do is it'll make the arm follow the animation of the gun and attach it, basically. So more on that in the future. But that's how you would handle things like that. So now we've got the lighting here nice and dark with one point light. Let's have a look and see what this looks like now. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got a bit of lighting going on here, not too bad. So there's other things you can do as well, apart from mess about the auto exposure, and that is a post-process. So with a post-process, you can drag this in, and you want to make it infinite bounds. So infinite extent, unbound, tick that. And then once you've got that, you've got a brightness setting in here. And you can control the min and max brightness. So you can see the exposure here coming in and really overexposing in the night time here, because that max brightness is quite high. But if I turn that all the way down, oh, not negative though, do 0.1. Maybe a bit. There we go. So you can tweak about those numbers as well to get where you want. It is a matter of just tweaking to get what you're aiming for. Because I've seen it's dark doesn't mean it has to be void of light. So make sure I've got lights in there. It's just the intensity is way down, but their indirect illumination. Where is it? So your intensity down here, you want that low, but you want your indirect intensity higher. Indirect intensity is how much basically the illumination bounces around. So if you want it to be softer, you put that on, then it'll spread out around the level a bit more. Turning it up a lot, obviously, you get brighter results. Next question. Scar T. When placing foliage via the procedural foliage volume, is it possible to have foliage placed trees, rocks as harvestable? No, because the way the foliage tool works is that they are static meshes. Okay, they don't really do anything. If you want to actually interact with something and do something with it, then there needs to be some kind of actor. As far as I'm aware, you can't do nothing like that with the volume, as you've said. Okay, unfortunately, you're gonna have to hand place those ones, or procedurally generate them, one way or the other. Yeah, good idea. Let's hide the chat box. You guys don't need the chat box on the screen. You can't see the details I'm messing about with. Mini Crossy HD. Hello everyone. I can't wrap my head around saying I have managed to save I have managed to save things like player stats, but I want actors to be deleted on a permanent basis. So once I get to my collectible, it doesn't respawn. Okay. So, if you know, I don't know how I can quickly show it. I don't know if it's possible for me to quickly show it, but oh, not an actor. Let's make a save game object. For those who don't know how to do anything about saving or loading, I've got a few tutorials on how to do that. By all means, search the channel and find them. So in your save file here, we have the variables here. So we're going to add a new variable, and let's say this is for your collectibles. Okay, so collectibles, and you'll change that to actor, or you might change it to the type of your collectible. So if it's like star, coin, gem, whatever it may be, change it to that type. Once you've done that though, you want to change that then to an array. Okay, now this array is an array of references. The blue indicates reference, and what that means is that for each instance you can add it to that list. So when it boots up, we could then, like for example, you could when you collect a gem or collectible, you get its reference and then save it before it's destroyed. Save it into your save game data here. Okay, and that will store a list of then all the ones you've collected, and yeah, then it'll be done. It's done. And when you do loading, you search that list and delete all the ones that are referenced. That's one way of doing it. Hopefully that's a good starting point. I say it's a lot to do in one 5-minute chunk, so hopefully that explains as best I can. Next up, Chris. Ryan, it's me again. I don't know, man. I cannot get a good weapon system. I need help. Okay. Well, what do you need help with? And also, what kind of weapon system you're doing? Let us know. Get a Gaming Job is asking, hey Ryan, have you made a tutorial about using custom-made skybox? I don't know how to implement it properly. Is it better to do something like the UE one or like the inverted box or so? So if you just go onto the not Google Docs, the Unreal documentation, you'll find their documentation about skyboxing, because what you need to do is load up an image editor like Photoshop, and you have to lay out the photographs that you want to be part of the skybox in a particular way. Once you've got that, then you can then use that as a skybox asset, which if you... I can't remember where it is now. It's one of these. At least I thought it was one of those. Where? Maybe if you search down here, sky. I will do a tutorial on it, but it is somewhere in there. You make the texture up. I have to look at the documentation, but you just look at the documentation. It's quite clear. Once you've got that, then you should be able to drag this texture into it, and it generates the skybox for you. A skybox is just a inverted box or sphere. Unreal typically uses spheres, but you can use whatever shape you want really for your game. It's totally up to you. So Lilo Lazo, sorry if I pronounced your names wrong. Hi, is there a good way to modify the jump gravity or slow forward? Default one feels like being on the moon. Thanks a lot for your tutorial. Okay, yes, so let's change this back to daytime so we can actually see what the hell we're doing. build lighting quickly. But yeah, we'll go through how to do this. Once it's built lighting. By the way, if you want to see this sort of show every single week, question time every single week, head over to Patreon. The current Patreon goal is to have the regular live stream on a Saturday like tonight, but also have another one in the week where it is question time exclusively every single week. Reason being, I know you guys like this stream, one of the most ones anyway, because you find it useful. So it'd be a really good thing to have once a week. So if you want that to happen, head over to Patreon and show your support, and I can then convince the wife to let me do this one more night a week. Yeah, it's not necessarily me, I have to convince her, so make sure she's happy. Okay, so right, so we've got the jumping stuff. So if we go into your character actor, you have character movement. So the jump you're referring to, let's just see the before. You've got this quite moon bouncy jump, okay? So there's a few things you need to check on here. So again, it's all tweaking to get exactly what you want for your game. But you want to look at gravity scale. So currently it's set to 1. And you want to may want to mess about with mass. And you also want to mess about with, on the jump, you've got jump z velocity. That's how high you jump. So a lot of this means a lot of balancing act. So if we increase the gravity, we do have to increase the velocity. So if I change the gravity to something like 1.8, and then go down and change the jump z velocity to say 1000, let's see how that looks. So the gravity will force it to come down a lot quicker, so you get less of a float. Yeah. But you maintain that height with the jump z velocity. You make sure you offset them both to balance them. So let's increase gravity again. Let's change that to 2.3 and change the jump z velocity to 1200. You get a much more hoppy feeling to it. I'll probably change the velocity to less than 1200. Let's change that back down to, let's do 900. But this is why you playtest, okay? You set up a room like this and just test things like movement. That feels a lot nicer. Okay, so mess about with those values to get exactly what you want based on your own game design. Gaming job. You always feel guilty about heaping a bunch of questions like this. Feels like leeching somehow. No, this is what tonight's for. Just throw questions at me. That's all that matters. Demos plays. Do I actually know how to use C++ or? Yes, I do. Before I got into Unreal, I just generally coded, mostly front end stuff. So C++ is probably my weakest one, but C# and Java, and load of web-based stuff like PHP, SQL, HTML, obviously, CSS, all that stuff, and JavaScript. But yeah, programming normally. Blueprint's really nice and a great way to teach, and I teach in real life, and this is what we do teach them. We teach them blueprints because it's a good launching pad for people who've never done coding before. People always say, get a common question I get even in comments or on here is, why are we... Oh my god, my battery's about to go. If this goes, I'm sorry, this will still on, but the camera might go. I've got no charger. Waiting for a charger to arrive. But anyway, whilst we got it, one common question I get is that the problem is sorry, I forgot my train of thought. The common question I get is C. I want to make games in C++. How do I do X in C++? I want to get started with C++. If you want to get started in C++, do not make games. Just learn C++. get Visual Studio or whatever if you're on Mac. But just do C++ coding. Games is the hardest thing to program. So understand the basics of C++, learn C++, and then it's gone. It's gone. It went. Is it gone? I think it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. Tell you what, wonder if I can revert to my laptop webcam. Hang on. Let's hide this. And let's try my crappy webcam. Video capture device. Oh no, this is not going to work. I'll just remove it. It's fine. You don't need it in my face anyway. Next time, I'll get I'm trying to get a power cable for this camera. So once I got that, I don't have to rely on the rechargeables anymore. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so if you want to learn C++, learn C++ first. Once you know that, then you can pick up Unreal quite easy. It's the same stuff. Also, another common question I get is, should I use C++ or Blueprints? You use both. Yeah, you don't just go one or the other. Use both. If you don't use both, then you're limiting yourself. Greatly. All games use both, so use both. Thank you, Quickscope Sheep. Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you. Okay, let's go. I missed loads of questions while all that was going on. Let's have a look if I can find another one. Saying all that on C++, I'm still looking at the camera as if it's still on. So dumb. Speaking of C++, I will eventually get to showing how to do C++ in Unreal. It's just not on the priority at the moment. There's a whole host of things that I want to get people showing, because I'd much rather show logic behind the systems and before just showing basic C++ coding. If you want to learn C++ coding, there's loads of tutorials out there on how to do it from other people. But yes, I will eventually get to it. It's just a matter of time getting to it, really. So yeah, we'll have to. It's just wait and see, really. My webcam is crappy. Don't lie to me. And yes, I've got a green screen. Behind the green screen is a messy kitchen, so it has to be up. Diadorka. Hey, I'm working with EQS and I've made my own custom EQS. When it generates an actor, is there any way to ungenerate it? No. As far as I'm aware, you don't. It doesn't. I don't know what you mean by ungenerate. EQS is happening all the time. It's like a tick. So I don't know what you're trying to achieve there, but no, I don't think you can. And again, Quickscope Sheep with another Quickscope. Thank you so much for that donation. X Draco. How to make the notification in an animation from 425 after the changes in the montage layout. Oh, I haven't even seen a new montage layout. I haven't done animation stuff in this yet. Is there an animation here I can open up? Where would it be? First person. This one has one. Where does it have it? Animations. There we go. So let's have a look. See if we can find it together. Oh wow, they have changed it. Okay, so here's your notifiers. Oh, this is much better. This is a lot cleaner. I always didn't like on the montage screen the list of stuff at the bottom. It was very hard to see. So I'm so glad for they've changed this. So let's have a look. Notify. So yeah, you got tracks here, so multiple notify tracks, and then I'm guessing this is a lot nicer. Much prefer this. So yeah, just go right click, add notify. There you go. It's right there. It's just condensed. It's exactly the same stuff as before. It's just condensed, which is much nicer. Oh, we have to play with this. So yeah, you got your different animations that you can tile. You got your slots. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you click on that and change the slot. Yes, you can. That's okay. So that's where you change the slot. So at the moment it's only got one slot, so it's in the default one. Oh, cool. Okay. You have to change. Have a look at that. Maybe do a quick update video. Demos plays. I could do all the chroma key and stuff, but it's a lot of hassle for not much gain. It's not. I'm not that good looking. You don't need to see my face. It's fine. But hopefully, by the way, I did fix the stream, so hopefully the stream's coming through a lot clearer now. I think what happened was between one stream and another stream, I swapped out my hard drives, and I think I lost some settings. So it was streaming out at really low resolution. Hopefully I've fixed that now, so hopefully get a nicer, clearer picture. Let me know any issues, and I can try and fix them between now and next stream. Asmund, did I get the ambient cube map versus skylight lighting question? I don't think so. Ambient cube light or skylight? I haven't really experimented much with the ambient cube maps. Skylight I have, so I'll stick with skylight. I would imagine that skylight would be is a lot easier to use, but not too sure. Demos plays. Am I saying that right? Is it Demos or Dimos? Let me know. Any tips on a new creator that is starting alone? Start small. Way too many people want to start a game or start making games, and they come up with I want to make an MMO. I want to make GTA. No, you don't. No, don't. Just don't. Start making something really, really small, really, really easy. Something you could do on your own and release it. Actually release it. Yeah, give it to people. Put it on itch, whatever you want, but release it. You learn so much by doing that. Do not do not aim too big. It's much better to make something complete rather than just hacking away at something too large for yourself. Okay, and I mean really small. Even if you rip off other games, just for a learning exercise. Once you get more confident, then you can start spreading out a bit. Get a gaming job. When is it proper to use level flow? I always get the impression that is a little bit frowned upon. Level flow. Can you just confirm what you're meaning by level flow? Just let me. Do you mean the level streaming stuff, where you flow between streams? I don't know. It could be interpreted multiple ways. Just let me know. Dajmos, is that right? Asmund, what was less expensive between ambient, cube light, and skylight? Skylight would be baked in. I don't know what ambient is. I haven't used it, but I would imagine it is baked in as well. If it's baked, it's free. That's why we always recommend static lights, unless you can get. If you can get away with it, try making them static. Because static lights are basically free. They don't cost you anything. And Asmund has just said as well, and I agree, do not do multiplayer for your first game, as especially alone. Very, very common stuff I get. MMO, Call of Duty, Overwatch, GTA. Psh, don't do it. Is there a way of making character cameras smoother or character movement? The base third person one seems a bit clunky. Unfortunately, I haven't got the third person project up, but you can do, yeah. I've been messing about with it. I wonder if we can do it in here, or show it in here, sorry. The settings for it anyway. Because I was actually experimenting with this the other day. Camera. I can't remember what it was now. I wonder if I can load up my other project I'll be working on secretly anyway. Let's have a look. Dymos. Okay, Dymos. Got it. Anonymous zone. When do you code in player character, player controller, game mode, and player state blueprints? Okay, so game mode is the one that's tied to the current world. Okay, you can't switch it really in the world, so it is tied to that level. And the game mode is what is indicating when, say, that level is complete, or it's keeping track of what the game's currently doing. So if you've got a score, it's a good place to put it. If you're doing tracking when players reach the end of the level and things like that, that can handle that transition. That's totally fine. That's a good place to put that. Player controller is anything to do with the player. So if the player is doing something like pushing buttons or interacting with the computer somehow, that's where that goes. So that's where you put in things like the player using like the menu button, opening the menus and things like that. You could also do things like context sensitive buttons as well. That's the most common one to do, like menus, things like that. Player character. So you code on the player character if the action is local to that actor. So by local action, I mean if you are, so for example, move forwards, we put that on the player character because it's the player character that's actually moving. You wouldn't say put move forwards for the player character on the box over in the corner. That makes no sense. You could, but it'd be nonsense. So it's much easier and better to put it on the player character. It makes more sense to put all the stuff that is local to that. If it's not local to that and it is the player doing it, it goes on the player controller. If it's local to the character, it goes on the player character. And state, player state, game state, they are, I don't really know what you'd use them for. What would you use them for? I guess you could do it. You can put it on the other ones, but you could change like when the player is. What would be a good example? So if you're like characters downed, you could do that and handle what's happening in that state. So in that state, the player may be having a different animation, different inputs, different UI, all that stuff. And the player state can handle that sort of stuff. And same with the game state, it does the same sort of thing. Mini Cross HD, thank you so much for that donation. It's amazing. Thank you so much. X Draco, I have a problem. When I have to run an animation of the character through a montage, it only runs the first 4 frames. But if it is directly through play animation, it'll work correctly. How interesting. I'm not too sure why that would be the case. Let's have a look. Yeah, I don't know. So you can put the animation on it, it just plays the whole animation. Yeah, so that's it, being played. I don't know why yours... So, with it, make sure in the details panel for each animation that your start and end time are correct. And the play rate is correct as well, set to 1. Double check those things. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know why it would work in one but not the other. Asmon, by the way, the new FPS RPG series is really awesome. It is. I'm really excited with it. I've got some cool stuff to show in the next episode, which I'm hopefully recording tomorrow. So check it out. Hopefully be up tomorrow for patrons. If you guys aren't a patron already, you won't know what it is, but I'm currently making an FPS RPG series. So basically taking all the systems that we've done in the series before, like inventory, shopkeeper, equipment, quests, all that stuff, and combine it all together to make a FPS RPG game, tweaking each one as we go to add more advanced stuff, more features, and just showing how you make these things all communicate to each other to make a full-fledged game. DWL me? Dwell me? I don't know. How can you animate characters in 2D with multiple parts floating? I'm now just animating each part separately. I'd really strongly recommend looking at a piece of software called Spline. Spline is a rigging system for 2D, and it can output a sprite sheet. That'd be the easiest, best thing to do is actually invest in that. It's relatively cheap for indie, so check it out. It's called Spline. Charlie Wheat. Hey, is that my Charlie Wheat? My student Charlie Wheat. Hello, if it is. Hey Ryan, is it possible to make a multiplayer game entirely in blueprints? I'm guessing maybe C++ is required for the server side, maybe. I believe I can't say for certain yet because I haven't checked it out, but the new Epic Game Services hopefully covers a lot of the missing ground with that. But yes, you can do a multiplayer game entirely in blueprints. You can do IP based peer-to-peer multiplayer games entirely in blueprints. I know that for certain, but one thing I'm not too entirely sure, because I know they've released the Epic Game Services, whether that's covering things like lobby systems and things like that. But otherwise, yes, you'd need to make the server-side stuff in C++ or whatever you're making the server code in. Most likely C++. Makes it a bit easier. But yeah, the game services probably cover that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't yet got it. The blueprints to help with that. Well, we'll see. I haven't checked it out yet. I haven't had no time. I've been so busy this month. Sure, Maro. Would you do the most advanced inventory system that you could give the objects to the character and save them? If you're referring to FPS RPG, yes, that would be covering. We'll be covering the how to get items in your inventory and save them, but not just that, but also save loadouts and things like that, because we're going to make a customizable gun that you can swap parts out of and customize and change the stats off of it, and animations to work all alongside it, because they're all going to be arcade and procedural and things like that, so really useful. More when we get to that, it's going to be a long series, so bear with it. It is going to take a long time, because we're trying to do such a sheer amount of stuff, but we'll try and get on about that. Kim North, inventory and shopkeeper already out. Yep. What? Not for FPS RPG, only for the original series. They're out. Yes. Am I excited about the UE5? Damos asks. Yes, I am very excited. I can't wait to get my hands on it and play around with it. It's gonna be awesome. And yes, as soon as I get my hands on it, I'll be making tutorials on it. Don't worry about that. Shimaro, how much do you know about engine? I guess you mean Epic's online game services thing. Not much. As I said, I haven't picked it up yet. So I want to hopefully this summer pick it up and have a look, play around with, and see if I can do something with it as tutorial wise. It's really cool because I know, obviously, I read about a little bit of what it does, and obviously it saves a lot of the legwork. It's kind of competing with Amazon's services, but it'd be really cool to get a play on that. Again, once I've got a handle on it, I'll make a video tutorial on it. I'm one of these people, if I don't know how to do something, I'll go figure it out and then teach people it. Nice to hear your voice again, thank you. Nick Torres, will the FPS RPG Patreon series have multiplayer? Possibly towards the end, maybe. Great work. If it will, it'll be at the end. Because what I want my plans for online multiplayer is to ramp it up slowly. So show you guys how to do the basic setup for multiplayer with a very, very basic game, and show you how to slowly show you how to implement more complicated communication between clients and servers. So once we've got that stuff out of the way, then maybe I'll add it onto the FPS RPG. Kind of a pain in the ass to add it on the end. It's better to do it with the full knowledge that you're doing it. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I say I want to do the other series in online multiplayer first, which is showing the basics of how to set it up right before we go into more complicated things like the FPS RPG, which translates a lot of data between client and server. Damos asks, what is my least favourite part of games development? That's a good question. My least favourite part. I would say it's my least favourite, but it's mostly because I want to be better at it than I actually am, and that's artwork. I'm alright, I'll get by it, but it takes me a lot longer than most people that are good at it. So I'm spending the summer practicing my art skills to be a better modeler, sculptor, texturer. So I'll get by it, but I want to be much better at it so I can make my own stuff. So probably the art side of things, and other than that, it'll probably be marketing. Marketing sucks. It's so hard and long. It's really, really difficult and expensive. Get a Gaming Job is asking, how complex would it be to have a camera only move along a spline if you move the cursor to the edges of the screen? Do I make sense? Yes, you do make sense. Yeah, you can. There's a node in here. Let me figure out what it's called. Not cursor. Mouse. Get mouse position on viewport. No. Which one was it? Is it this one? I think it's this one. I think this is the one it does it. I can't remember for certain, but this boolean it returns is the true or false, whether it's on the inside of the screen or outside of the screen. I think it is the one. It doesn't necessarily say, but it must do. It's anything that makes sense. So this one gets the mouse position on the screen and outputs the X and Y location of it, and the return value is saying whether or not it's on the screen or not. So, useful. Next we've got Iyad Hussein, is there a way I can change the pivot location of the capsule component in the character blueprint, or alternatively can I make the two capsule components and make both of them react to the world? Okay, so changing pivot, no. There's a way to temporarily move the pivot to work on something, but as soon as you close it, the pivot returns, so you can't really do nothing about that. The pivot is where it is on the capsule. You can't change it. And same with anything else, you can't change the pivot in Unreal anyway. Can you make two capsule components and make both of them react to the world? No, because if you mean you have like one capsule there, another capsule here, and rather than being a hierarchy, they are next to each other. No. Capsules work, not capsules, components work in hierarchy, so you can only have one route. Okay, the reason why you can only have one there is because you need a route, the thing that the game engine is using to position this thing. So the workaround for that is probably you make a scene component, and you make. You can't do it on a character. Bang. Okay, you'd have to create a whole new character and customize everything from scratch. Pain in the bum. Let me know why you want to do two capsule components, because that's weird. Be interested to know what you're trying to achieve. Damos, could I make a tutorial on cutscenes? I already got one. Check out my level sequencer cutscenes tutorial on my channel. That's how you do it. It's just that with if you want things that are animated with facial animation, things like that, it's just animations. I am planning to do a facial animation tutorial at some point. I'm just trying to find a good facial rig to use because I do not want to make my own. But I will show you guys how to make a facial animation. Like hand animated one, not using motion capture. So that will be going. I keep looking at the camera, by the way, as if it's still on. I must be going insane. Savage Studio, will the blueprints transfer over from UE4 to UE5? I don't think they've said anything about it, but I can 100% assume they will, because they have said it'll be more like a version upgrade. Keep in mind there is still stuff in UE4 that was still in UE3, so stuff's going to transfer over. I reckon UE5 will look very, very similar to what you're seeing on my screen right now. Yeah. Amir, did I ever use iClone? Did you recommend? I haven't used it, no. So I can't recommend it. Or recommend it. I can't do nothing about it. Robert, speaking of facial motion capture, how to merge face mocap animations with whole skeleton mocap animations. So you can do modular skeletal meshes, which is how we're going to do the equipment system in FPS RPG, by the way. I ain't got it here, but let me get the documentation up so you can see the documentation. So if you just go onto the docs in Unreal Engine, you can see that it is doable and it's not too difficult if it loads up. So here you can see this is them talking about how you do it, but essentially you have it all in pieces and you just tell it to merge one with the other. It's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle. So long as it has the exact same skeleton, naming conventions, things like that, it's totally fine. So yeah, look out for that. So I will be doing that stuff at some point, but no idea when, unfortunately. What is the fastest way to learn about what node exists? I was looking at the official website, but there isn't too much description. Okay, so this is how I figure out what nodes to use, okay? So I first of all just right click an empty space and just search the key name for the thing I want to do. So let's say if I want to work out a direction between two vectors, okay? So the keyword for that might be direction. So if I type in direction, I now get a list of all the functions that have the word direction in them. Okay, I then will look at the titles and then hover my mouse over them and read any descriptions that have been given. Those descriptions will give me an indication of which one is right. So I can see find the unit direction vector from one position to another. That sounds like what I want. So I click on that and there you go. I've now got a function that I know I was looking for. If I want to find out what these are, so these are my parameters. I've got my left hand ones are inputs, my right hand one is outputs. So the from and to, they labeled from and to, so that makes sense. I've got to do a from location and a to location, and that's going to output a vector, which is a three floating point vector. And from there I can get the rotation, I can get whatever I want. So that's how I do it. I just right click and search for a keyword. So if I want to say do something with montage, I type in montage and here these come up. Now sometimes what you're looking for may not turn up. Make sure if then you tick context sensitive off, okay? Because then you get a lot more options. The reason why that hides and shows stuff is because when it's context sensitive, it basically only shows stuff that can be plugged in based on what you're doing here. So if I right click an empty space, it's only going to show me nodes which don't require any prerequisite flow from the code. But for example, if I had so for example, if I go here, do look montage again, and here you can see I can do get current montage. Okay, so here this isn't showing up before because the target for this was character. We're not on a character, so therefore it won't show. If I was to compile this with, let's put a tick on it or something, I don't know. Not that tick. Do begin play then. Oh wait, I can't. It's a save game project. Balls. I can't. But if I was to do a tick on the gameplay, this would give me an error because the target's not a character. Okay, so the way that would work then, if I want to make that different, make that actually sharp in the context sensitive mode, which we've got here ticked on. If I get the player character, which again I don't think will show in this is a bad example to use. Hang on, let's go in here. So in the first person character, so if I want to change the camera and I want to change the target blend, okay, so camera target blend, okay, it's not going to come up here, yeah. If I untick this, it does come up. View target with blend, but I see the target was player controller, so this target here would need to be player controller. If I were to put in something like tick event, I get an error because that is not a player controller. Okay, self is not a player controller. But if I were to plug in get player controller, I now get no error. Yeah. So that context sensitive will only show stuff based on what I'm dragging out. So if I drag out from here now and turn that back on and then search for that set view target, no, target with blend, it should show. Why is it not showing? There you go, set view target with blend. Don't know what's going on there, but there you go. So set view target with blend comes up as an option because I had that dragged out. Yeah, so make sure that's how I learn. So if you want to know what nodes exist, just type in a name, a keyword for it, and be fine. Okay, so I was looking down for so long, I missed a load of questions. So if I do miss it, please chuck it back up again. We'll carry on for about 10 more minutes probably. Enrique, how do you streaming level in multiplayer? Is it possible streaming just in client? Yes. You typically only stream in client unless you're doing something weird, but most of the time it's client side. This is why you get in some multiplayer games, people can hack the game and get out maps and do stuff like that. Robert Wesley. Did I learn Unreal only by learning via documentation, or did I learn having any special sources? No, I just played about with it. That's literally what I did. I watched a couple of videos, read a few things, but most of the time it's just me having a play. That's the way I learn. I just learn by playing and figuring stuff out. This is why sometimes a lot of tutorials take a while to come out, because it's just me experimenting, trying to get the best result possible for you guys. So doing the legwork before you guys have to deal with it. Good night, get a gaming job. Have a good evening. Jose Ramon Bayo Santiago. Hi, I wanted to ask what would suggest for a person trying to look for a job as a game developer. First of all, specialize in a particular field. So don't just go in as a game developer, go in as a programmer, artist, whatever you want. Whatever is best, and then show up with a portfolio, or send a portfolio ahead of time, whatever it may be. You want to showcase what work you've done, ideally stuff that you've released. If you haven't released anything, release something, put it out there, or do some commission work. Anything. The more work you do for people other than yourself, the better. So portfolio and specialize. That's the quick answer for a long topic. Savage Games. Have I released a game or got any games that works? Yes, I've got my mobile game Blob came out this year. It wasn't made in Unreal, but that came out this year. It's on Android and iOS. It's BLOBB. It's a little puzzle game. And I've actually got another project here, which I've literally started working on. Because, spoiler alert, my firefighting game that I've been working on, I'm having to push pause on it because I'm stuck. I couldn't figure it out. So I'm moving on to a different type of game. I'm using on to a 3D platformer. So I haven't done any artwork for it yet, but we've got I've got a new camera system here to work out. It works better with a game controller, but you can see here I've got some debug stuff going on here. I've got a sort of lag on the camera, so I can it lags behind the player character, and it goes the same when I rotate it. That's what I mean by smooth movement. It's not so snappy, it's more floaty. It's better with a controller because I haven't got all the controls set up. But double jumps, I can't do it without controller. It's got a lot of abilities, things that it can do, like crouch jumps. No, I can't. I need a controller to do it. Because it's a controller-based game, but it's a 3D platformer like Banjo-Kazooie or Mario. That's what it'll be. More details on this in the future, but that's what I'm working on. Arthur Vieira. Difference between connecting player character to the other actor pin on a component overlap in comparison to connecting the other actor to a equals comparative and checking for the player character. Did I miss the first part of that question? No, I'm confused about the question. So, is it meant to say what is the difference between connecting the player character to the other actor pin on the component overlap? Is that meant to be difference? What is the difference? Let's close this. Okay, let's do an overlap event. So here's an overlap event. So you want to know the difference between connecting player character to the other actor pin. I don't know what I mean by connecting it to. You can't get player character to this. I don't know what you're trying to do. The typical way is you do, as you rightfully said, it's equals get player character, and that checks whether or not they are of equal actor in standing. What's the difference between connecting player character to the other actor pin on a component overlap? I don't know what you mean by connecting other actor to a component overlap. That's the only way you can connect that to that. Oh, cast to. Right, okay. So, yes, there's a slight difference. So, if you're doing this method, this is just a comparison, okay? This is only going to tell you yes or no whether or not it was a player character. So, if you only need to know whether or not the player character was the one that overlapped it, that's all you need. This is very, very cheap, okay? I'm just going to do this on another... I'll do it on end overlap. The alternative, then, is to cast to... what's it called? First person. So the difference with the cast is not as cheap as this one, but what it does do is, again, gives you that true or false, essentially, if a cast and failed and cast success, but with it, it comes with this as first person character. The main role of a casting is to transfer a generic type to a specific type. So here, other actor, see it says actor object reference. Okay, that's what it's spitting out. So that's an actor object reference, not a specific thing, just any code of actor will come through there. If we want to see if it is related to a specific actor type, we can cast to it, and when we do that, we're basically transforming it. Yeah, imagine this is like transforming it, and this transforms it into a first person character. It can only do that if it is of that type. Okay, so as first person character will now work with that. For example, this will always fail. This overlapped component will fail because first person character is an actor, not a component. Therefore, this will always fail. Okay, that is the purpose of casting. But casting, as I said, is more expensive than this. So if you don't need data, which is what comes from this pin here, then use this. If you need data, then use this. Ted Chicken, can you make a tutorial? Broken English, sorry. Can you make a tutorial, I guess, series on how to make chase IO with physics-based animations? It stumbles half the time. I'd love to, but I can't honestly say it'd be on the horizon. You could just do an animation, probably the easiest thing to do it. With physics, if you can do, you just turn physics on and physics off now and then. It's a bit of a pain though if you turn it back on. It's easy to do with animation. When using a damage taken node, how would you send information across? For example, having the ability to cause a debuff. So what you can do is do an event dispatcher. So if you do like damage. So apply damage. You're calling apply damage on something, blah blah blah, and then you send an event dispatcher. Okay, so event dispatcher here could be apply debuff, for example, or whatever, or receive debuff, because this would be on your other actor, be like receive debuff. And with a damaged actor, you drag out and you'd call that received debuff, and the event dispatcher will send whatever data you want across it. The alternative is you could send damage type class, so debuff the debuff class to this, and then on the other end, when you receive damage, what's it called? Receive? No, any damage. You get damage type here, and you can see what type this is and make that relate to a debuff. Either way is fine. I personally would do probably the event dispatcher, but yeah. Damos is playing Blob right now. Oh, thank you. It's really fun. Thanks for the review. Make sure to leave a review in the storefront. It helps out a lot. Which engine did I use to make it? I used Game Maker Studio 2, so I coded it all in that. Surprisingly a lot of code. Diadorka, hey again. I sent you a video on your Twitter page about my issue of ungenerating an actor with EQS. If I can't ungenerate them, is there a method you could recommend? Let me have a look. on Twitter then. Quickly. You did? When? Oh, there you go. It's can't.
So this is what I mean by the IDs or ungenerate the actors. So here, if I change the ID to 2, it switches to those guys. If I change it to 1.
I'll say I'll have to have a look at it later and let you know. I have to think about that one. It may be tomorrow, as I usually go to bed straight after this because it's quite late for me. I'll let you know. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you for the $2 fist bump. Thanks, man. That's amazing. Let me have a look. How to change MS Program? How to change the location of any object between 2 spline points using the timeline effect? Change the location of any point between. Okay, so if you think about the distance between 2 spline points as a normalized range between 0 and 1, 0 being point whatever the previous point and 1 being the next point. You can use that to work out a distance between each, the location between each one. That would probably be the best way of doing it. It's hard. I can't really show it easily and quickly. We're running out of time, unfortunately. Kim North, can you give advice on playing music? Things like switching music when the mood of the game changes. Level blueprint is you just play different music on the level blueprint. That'd be the only way you do it. Damos Plays, thank you for leaving me the 5-star review of Blob on the Google Play. Thank you so much. Tell your friends, get everyone to download it. It hasn't had nowhere near enough downloads. Keep going. Rubens, I was looking for a facial animation cutscene and can't find it. Can you please make a video and explain it? Thanks in advance. You are the best. Yes, I am going to be making a facial animation tutorial. Once I find a facial rig that I can use, I'll be making that tutorial. But the general gist is you have a facial rig and there are certain positions of a face that are used for speaking. It's like a list of them. It's like 20 of them, I think. So you save them all out as separate poses, and in Unreal, and then you use them to basically, like using montage, to sculpt and build out your animation. That's essentially what you do. But once I find a good facial rig to use, I'll show you how to do it. If we want to take final questions now, as we're going to be wrapping up. Vince, hi Ryan. My question: how make AI jump with Navlink? You were about to make a video, but never got made. I know. I totally forgot to get back to that one. There's a couple of ways you can do an animation, like a canned animation, which is the way most games do it, with root motion. The other way of doing it, you can put a spline jump in, so you make it jump along a spline. I personally would do the animation route, but the only thing with that is you have to make sure. Well, you'd have to make sure because you could work around it, I guess. But I was gonna say you have to make sure that everything's the same height. But I guess you could work around it by doing some clever stuff with it. But yes, when it goes into a Navlink and it detects that as a ledge above it, you take it to play an animation, and the animation root motions it up to the top. I do mean to go back to it. I will get back to it. It's just I've got so much on my plate at the moment, so it's a matter of as I said earlier, before I make the videos, I do a ton of research and prototyping them before I put them out, and it's usually AI ones which take the longest. So there's a lot more experimentation to get the right look out of them. So bear with me, I will get to it. It's just a matter of time, that's all. Damos, it's sad how games only get 500 downloads and games from Voodoo and get millions. I know. Yeah, it's a pain in the bum. Because I honestly I think Blob's a great game. I really liked Blob. I really like my game Blob. I love for it to do well. Mini Crossy, how can you lock character movement, as in have double jump, but not until you unlock it by walking into the power up and unlocks it permanently? So for example, on double jump, I have got a skill system series coming out this month for patrons, maybe. I think this month for patrons we'll get it. A skill system which shows exactly that. But essentially, on your class defaults, you have, for example, jumping. You have a jump max count 1. You can actually just change that in code. So when you collide with something, you just get the player character. I'm showing you get player character. We don't need to do that on here because you're already on the player character. But essentially, you get the player character, and then from there, you set jump max count to whatever number you want. And that's how you do that. So for that, you just look at your skill system. Again, wait for that tutorial. It's a much nicer way of doing it. You do a check. So you do your check here, and if it's true, you do this. Essentially all it does. But the skill system series coming out is awesome. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Patrons will get it this month. On YouTube, everyone else probably won't be until September. As I say, there's a lot of backlog for YouTubers to get. There's patrons have loads of videos available to them. Anyway, I think we're gonna have to call it there. Thank you again, everyone. Again, if you like this content and you want to see this stream every single week, the question time every single week, become a patron. Get us to that number 400 goal, and if we get that goal, we'll be doing a second stream a week, and it'll be a question time every single week on top of the regular stream every Saturday. Anyway, thank you very much for coming by and watching me and asking your questions. And thank you to everyone who donated tonight. It's amazing. Thank you so much. I've been Ryan Lely, and this is me signing out. Good night, everyone, and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.